welcome then to the 40th Journalism Awards, and we start off with our first award, but I must, of course, remind you that Resolution Property are a keen supporter of the awards, have been for some years, and we're glad to bring them to you in association with Resolution. But our first award is for the Architecture Writer of the Year. This is sponsored by BDP, and the judges were impressed with the breadth of entries, albeit disappointed with the lack of entries from building design or national newspapers. Whoa. So perhaps continuing to reflect the diminishing space allocated to architectural matters in the national press, which was noted by the judges last year, of course, you will all remember. Nevertheless, it was a strong category with varied and lively approaches and points of view. Felix Mara of the Architects Journal is shortlisted for an interesting submission of penetrating critiques which left the judges wanting more. In shortlisting the Architects Journal's Rory Alcaito, the judges were impressed with his subtle dismantling of his subjects' often inflated reputations, coupled with a very engaging writing style, not just about buildings, but also about the underlying issues. The judges liked Will Hunter's stimulating pieces, which appeared in the Architectural Review. They particularly liked his proactive involvement with architectural education and looked forward to reading more on this subject in the future. So, Ben, would you please open the envelope?
I've done that. And the winner is Rory Alcaito, the Architects Journal.
So,
I'm not Rory Alcaito.
Rory can't be with us, so Alan Gordon is receiving the award on his behalf, and Chris Harding.
I think we have to take
No, Chris, hang on a sec, because we've got to have Chris Harding, chair of the architectural profession at BDP, who will actually present the cheque. So, Chris, here we go. The next category is Sustainable Journalist of the Year, sponsored by AECOM. Clearly, issues of sustainability remain near the top of the agenda for companies across the built environment sector. The entries reflected this with coverage of many of the major issues. We hope next year to see journalists really push the boundaries, see where the sustainability agenda will go in the future. In shortlisting Vern Pitt of Building, the judges noted his was the strongest news offering in a category that was dominated by features articles, with evidence that the articles were picked up by the national media. You can clap. The judges liked Thomas Lane's well-written articles in Building that were relevant to an audience across many sectors of the built environment. Jess McCabe, do applaud. Jess McCabe of Inside Housing produced well-researched and relevant articles in a style that makes you want to read more, the judges said. The interesting content of the articles makes you think and has an impact.
Right, and the winner is Jess McCabe.
And would Craig Sparrow, Head of Sustainability at AECOM, European, Middle East and Africa, present the cheque, please? Next is Construction Infrastructure Journalist of the Year, a new category for 2013 sponsored by Arcadis. This is a growing area and was hotly contested. The judges thought the overall standard was very high and the technical complexities explained very well. Vern Pitt, again, of Building, entered 3 really good news stories which have been well researched and provided great insight into future procurement strategies on 3 of the UK's major infrastructure projects. Mark Hansford's new civil engineer pieces were all interesting, well written, and explained technical subjects simply and without any jargon. His article on the Russian stadium was a technical tour de force. It explained the Byzantine Russian codes incredibly well and really got under the skin of the project, which could not have been easy. Tom Fitzpatrick of Construction News, his 3 scoops stood out for the judges in this category, all written with great clarity, well-researched and highly informative. The piece on Network Rail was particularly revealing.
Right, the winner is Mark Hansford, musical engineer. Mark!
So if Matt Riley, Head of Infrastructure, E.C. Harris, would come up to present the cheque, please. And next is News Reporter of the Year, sponsored by Land Securities. The judges said it was really encouraging to see that campaigning journalism continues to flourish, with blacklisting of construction workers, housing and welfare issues, personal rights and fraud, all grabbing the news headlines in our business magazines. All campaigns that show journalists are still passionate about principles and standards. It continues to be about not letting people get away with things they shouldn't and holding the industry to account while celebrating its achievements. The judges shortlisted Will Hurst of Building for his 3 stories about blacklisting. If there is one thing a democratic society should always abhor, it is the arbitrary exclusion of people for unexplained reasons from job opportunities that should be available to all. Inside Housing's trip by Carl Brown to Merseyside to interview an old lady brought to life the controversies surrounding the government's bedroom tax and the hardships the legislation is causing. Great legwork, the judges commented. While the submissions from Rakesh Ramchurn of the Architects' Journal demonstrated a comprehensive, intelligent approach to an issue, gay equality, that has career, national and international ramifications in the architecture profession, and which the profession needs to address. Ben.
The winner is Will Hurst from Building.
And would Duncan Bonfield, Director, Corporate Communication, Landsec, to the stage to present the cheque, please. And now, Feature Writer of the Year, sponsored by the Chartered Institute of Building. This year, there have been a good volume of investigative journalism articles and powerful and imaginative subjects for interviews. The judges were impressed with the number of entries this year, which were of a very high standard. The judges shortlisted Sophia Ferber of Estates Gazette because she submitted articles on Nick Leeson, Islamic finance and the Turkish riots to show how unusual angles and a lively, colourful writing style can bring building finance reporting to life. Felix Mara of the Architects' Journal demonstrated independent voice and a fresh writing style in his 3 articles. And the judges praised Will Hurst of Building for his painstaking investigative research into the building industry's controversial blacklist issues, the fallout from the scandal, the human effects, and what should be done in the future. Ben.
And the winner is Will Hurst, Building.
And would Chris Chivers, Vice President of Chartered Institute Building, come to the stage, please? And now, Business and Financial Journalist of the Year, sponsored by Resolution Property. The roller coaster of the property market in recent years has provided a rich vein of stories for businesses and financial journalists. This year's entries mined that seam deeply in providing a variety of articles of high quality. The submissions also reflected the variety of approaches to some outstandingly good stories, from meticulous desktop number crunching to pacing the streets of communities facing development to digging diligently to find facts in foreign countries. The judges were impressed at the standard of the work they read. A financial despot at the Pinnacle development in the city provided Alistair Heyman of Building with a strong news story, but he also revealed his skills as an analyst and feature writer in examining the problems of Morgan Sindall and Balfour Beatty. The combination of his articles showed the strength of Alistair's abilities. Property Week's David Hatcher looked at how the retail world has been saved and scoured by the private equity industry, changing the ownership and sometimes the face of the high street and retail parks. Sarah Dennis of Construction News displayed an ability to drill down into data and reach newsworthy and sensible conclusions. Her articles were very workmanlike pieces of journalism that added value to the sector's output.
Is David Hatcher, Property Week.
And would Robert Lawrence, Chief Executive Resolution, come to present the cheque? Now we get to Commercial Property Journalists of the Year, sponsored by Savills Commercial. All the entries were of a high quality, but covered a diverse range of subjects and approaches, from news and features, personalities and issues, to micro-domestic stories, to international matters. The judges were impressed at the diligence in presenting stories and the depth of research. In shortlisting Kat Spivey of Property Week, the judges found her article on Mike Ashley, the unconventional businessman behind the Sports Direct phenomena, highly readable. Kat provided not only an entertaining profile, but an analysis of the profits and strategy of a business that defies conventional models. Estates Gazette's Joanna Burke recounted the tale of the colourful crook Achilles Kalakis that was as entertaining as it was disturbing. She provided added value with both background and comment and accompanied the article with a piece of interviewing the serious fraud officer in charge of the case, a refreshing example of thinking outside the box. Nick Whitton, also of Estates Gazette, identified business rates as a major problem for parts of the property market and used freedom of information request to support a concerted campaign that was backed by major figures in the industry. Now, in this category, Nick Whitton receives a worthy, highly commended award in this category, so and if Gary Darrell, Director of Savills, would come to the stage, he can present Nick with a certificate before Ben opens the final.
Okay. Kat Spivey, Property Week.
Housing Residential Journalist of the Year is next, sponsored by Be Here, which is the new housing initiative from Wilmot Dixon. The articles in this category showed good evidence that all views had been sought to develop balanced pieces. This was a closely contested category that left the judges with a difficult decision on the clear winner. Carl Brown of Inside Housing was shortlisted for providing a good mix of news and features that were well researched and put together. All the articles from Nick Duxbury, also of Inside Housing, were of a standard that you would expect in a national newspaper. Good style and colour, the judges said, yet he still managed to address the needs of his specific audience. The third nomination in this category was from Martin Hilditch, making it a close-run final for the strong trio from Inside Housing.
And the winner is Nick Duxbury from Inside Housing.
So if Stuart MacDonald, editor of Inside Housing, would collect the cheque on behalf of Nick Duxbury, and Matthew Pullen, MD of Be Here, would come and present the cheque. Now we have Young Journalist of the Year, sponsored by the Building Centre. This category achieved a small number of entries this year, giving a clear warning of the impact of the lack of recruitment of young journalists in our sector. Nevertheless, the judges believe that all the entries, especially the winner in this category, demonstrated that there is talent out there. Lucy Mayer of Construction News is shortlisted as the judges admired her ability to secure key interviews and provide leads for her readership. Laura Mark of the Architects Journal displayed a strong technical grasp, as demonstrated by her investigation into the RABA's new plan of work. And the judges shortlisted Heather Spur of Inside Housing because they felt that her submission was worthy of a national newspaper. Her articles showed hard work, curiosity and wit, packed with quotations from a wide range of sources.
Winner is Heather Spur, Inside Housing.
And would Jenny Watt of the Building Centre please come up and present the cheque? Next is Multimedia Journalist of the Year, sponsored by Aylwin Communications. The entries this year demonstrated high standards and evidence of dynamism in this sector, and recognition that while all journalism now straddles both print and digital, some journalists show a particular appropriate use of the different platforms. Tom Ravenscroft of the Architects Journal impressed the judges in particular with the Small Projects Award, a true example of multi-platform journalism studying print, web and social media. In shortlisting Daniel Kemp of Construction News, the judges acknowledge his sheer energy and enthusiasm for taking often dry information and data and turning it into clear and accessible journalism written in an authoritative way. Marcus Fairs of Dezeen produced compelling video interviews with Richard Rogers, which were well edited and focused on the interviewee rather than the interviewer. The judges felt that Daniel Kemp of Construction News is one to watch for the future and deserves a highly commended certificate. So if Daniel would like to come up, and Richard Aylwin, Managing Director of Aylwin Communications, come up and present the cheque.
Tom Ravenscroft, the Architecture Journal.
Next is Magazine of the Year Weekly, sponsored for the 21st consecutive year by Marley Etternet. This year's entries show life is increasingly challenging in publishing given the competition and sheer weight of digital output. But the quality of journalism is still incredibly high, testimony to the talents of everyone who chooses to make a career in this industry. In shortlisting the Architect's Journal, the judges said this magazine continues to be a stylish, authoritative, critical and campaigning force in the design world. Inside Housing features good, hard-hitting news and features and great visual journalism. It did exactly what it should be doing in a year which saw housing catapulted to the top of the political agenda, the judges said. And finally, Building continues to be important to its sector with great news and campaigns, often picked up by the Nationals.
And the winner is Inside Housing.
And would Sarah Harding, Marketing Manager of Marley Ethernet, please come up to present the Marley Ethernet Cup?
Soon it will be over and buried with our past.
Now we have Magazine of the Year, non-weekly, sponsored by the Society of British Interior Design. This year the category was represented by a range of magazines covering many aspects of the industry. There was a good degree of unanimity by the judges on the quality of the submissions. Another consistently good entry from the Architectural Review, combining quality content appropriate to its audience in a distinctive and alternative format. New London Quarterly, last year's winner in this category, produced another strong entry with the judges particularly attracted by its people, photography and overall presentation. RABA Journal is shortlisted by the judges who said this magazine has been very recently changed in format and style, and they were impressed by the first issue and its new look, by its bold new design and interesting variety of articles.
Right, the winner is the Architectural Review.
So would Phineas Harper, on behalf of Catherine Slessor, come up to receive the award, and Vanessa Brady, President of the Society of British Interior Design, come to the stage to present the certificate. Next is Digital Service of the Year, sponsored by IBP. All the nominated entries were using the digital platforms available to do something different, whether the creation of dashboards and the use of data journalism or their approach to social media. The 4 nominees really excelled. The judges were looking for real innovation and change that anticipated future developments. Design is shortlisted partly due to its sheer volume of content, which is impressive in itself, but also there have been several exciting developments in the past year, underlined by evidence of impact. The service is certainly not standing still, with, for example, traffic growing 17% to 37.3 million visits. The Architect's Journal remains high quality and authoritative, with a consistently executed digital-first approach. It has a direct approach to its audience and responds to reader demand with, for example, the introduction of carousels of images and regional news sections. There is a lot of newsworthy content flowing through the Building for Change site in a consistent stream. It is evidently well connected with the industry, and innovations include the introduction of the sister site, Technology for Change, and the BRE retrofit briefing, which contains a wealth of information.
We
We still have the excellent construction news site, which continues to blaze a trail in data-driven journalism at a time when other publications are only just realising the potential.
Desine.
Starships were meant to fly. Winds up and touch the sky.
And now we move to IBP Journalist of the Year, sponsored by Resolution Property. The overall winner is chosen from the winner of the individual categories, so the standard is high in selecting the best of the best. Although that means comparing very different articles, the same standard of journalism applies to all, and all passed with flying colours. The range of articles well demonstrated the breadth and strength of the media serving the built environment. The 2013 IBP Journalist of the Year produced a highly readable story of how housing is being built on areas vulnerable to flooding. The approach from the point of view of the distressed homeowners as well as the policymakers produced a high-quality piece of journalism on an important subject. This approach and its impact impressed the judges greatly. So if I can invite Robert Lawrence, Chief Executive, Resolution Property, to the stage.
No, I'm not going to say very many words other than to thank everyone for coming, for all their very hard work in producing this fantastic journalism. I know it's a massive effort, and we're all very grateful, all of us on the other side who have to read it and read about ourselves sometimes doing things that we do, are grateful for the accuracy and the insight. So thank you very much.
Now, Ben.
And the winner is Jess McCabe, Inside Housing.
Thank you very much. So it just leaves me ready to thank Ben for announcing all the winners and to congratulate all the people who have been shortlisted and won a cheque or a certificate, and to thank Gerald for putting on such a splendid occasion.
Thank you very much, Peter, as always, brilliantly delivered. One last 40th anniversary quote. The unpleasant and unacceptable face of capitalism was a quote from Edward Heath on a payment by Lonhro to Tory MP Duncan Sands in 1973. It seems to me that the original objectives of the awards, set up by a handful of journalists in 1973, 40 years ago, still holds good in that there still needs to be a vigilant press in our sector, as in other sectors, to root out the unpleasant and unacceptable wherever it may be. Some of the articles mentioned this evening and shortlisted and winners, I believe, is a testament to sound research, investigative and fearless reporting, but above all, good journalism. And it's only with your continued help and support that we can bring these issues to the general public and the readership, air them and reward them. Please enjoy the rest of the evening. I look forward to reading all the articles again next year and to seeing you all here. Thank you very much.